Alright, we have made a big step. We have created our virtual machine in the previous lecture. All that we're left to do right now is to install the kalilinux operating system. Now, it should be rather easy. I will guide you through all the steps, so let's start it straight away. To start your VM, simply just click on the VM. You can either double click it or you can select it and click on this start button. It will take a few seconds. On the right, you should see powering VM up, and in just a few seconds, this small window will open. Now, the first thing that we see is this kalilinux window asking us which type of installation do we want to proceed with. Now, the two options that interest us are graphical install and install. Now, since this window is quite small, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on View, and I'm going to enter scaled mode, which will enlarge this window a little bit. Now, to enter scale mode, you can simply just do what I did, and to leave scale mode, you use right control button and C. So right control button and C will enter scale mode, and it will also leave scale mode. From here, I can just enlarge this screen a little bit so we can see everything better, and now we're good to go. So I'm going to select graphical install, I'm going to press enter, and just a quick note, inside the virtual machine, during the installation, your mouse will not work, so make sure to navigate with arrow keys on your keyboard. Now, this mostly refers to certain parts, since at the beginning of the installation, the mouse key will work, but if you find it not working, simply just use your arrow keys to navigate up and down and enter to continue to the next step. So the first thing that we're prompted is to select a language, and you can simply just select whichever language that you want. I'm going to proceed with English, and I'm going to press enter to continue. Same here, the location. You can find your country right here. If you do not see it on the official list right here, you can just click on other and select it from there. Now, since this is not an important step, I'm just going to proceed with United States, and I'm going to click on continue. And configuring the keyboard, I'm going to select American English. You can select whichever keyboard configuration that you want, or you can proceed same way as me with American English keyboard. Let's click on continue. It will perform a few steps. So let's wait for it to get to the next step. Okay, so here's the next question that we get asked, and that is to configure the network. Please enter the hostname for this system. The hostname is a single word that identifies your system to the network. If you don't know what your hostname should be, consult your network administrator. If you're setting up your own home network, you can make something up here. Now, since most of us are in our home network, we can simply just make something up here. So I'm just going to type Kali, simple as that. And I'm going to press continue. We get one more configuration of network, but this time it is domain name. And here the domain name, we can simply just leave empty. So just delete whatever is inside this input bar and proceed to the next step. Okay, so here is where we set up the full name for the new user on the kalilinux system. And since we are hackers, of course we are not going to use our full name. We could just make something up here. I'm going to call my new user Mr. Hacker. Now you can call your user whatever you want. This is not that important step, just make sure to remember it for later. Once you name your user, click on continue, and it will ask you to select the username for that new user. I will just leave it as Mr. Hacker right here, and I will proceed to the next step. The next step is giving the password to our new user. So in the first field, type in the password that you want your user to have. I'll type it like this, and if you want, you can make sure that you typed it properly by clicking Show Password in Clear. Here we want to re-enter the same password just to confirm it. And fun fact, make sure that you add a strong password, because in the history, many of the black hat hackers have been caught by having weak passwords. Now, of course, we are not black hat hackers, we are white hat hackers, but we still want to have a strong password for our kalilinux machine. So, once again, once you type your password in and you confirm it, you can click on Continue. Here it asks us to configure the clock. I will proceed with Eastern. You can choose your time zone accordingly. I'll just proceed with Eastern. And here we come to the partitioning of disks. Now, under this step, if you're a beginner, simply just click on Guided, use entire disk, and click on Continue. It will give you this one option, which is your hard disk that you created in the previous lecture. For me, it is the 40 GB large hard disk. For you, it might be different, but just select it right here and click on Continue. Again, partitioning disks. Here it says that this can be partitioned using one of several different schemes. If you're unsure, choose the first one. Since we are beginners and it does say right here recommended for new users, let's select this one, which is all files in one partition, and let's click on Continue. We want to select Finish Partitioning and Write Changes to Disk and click on Continue once again. And here we want to click on Yes and click on Continue. And it finally finished partitioning our disks and it will start installing the base system for kalilinux. Let's wait for the next step. And after a minute or two, here is the next step. Software selection. Now ideally here you don't want to change anything. You can simply just leave it as it is. So let's go to Continue. And after this step, this next step, which is selecting and installing software, can take some time, even up to an hour, or in some cases over an hour. So just sit back and enjoy, grab a cup of coffee, and I will see you as soon as next step pops up. Okay, here we are at the next step. This installation took quite some time. Now, for me personally, it took about 15 to 20 minutes. For you, it might have been more or less. Now, for anyone that might have encountered an issue during the last step or during the software installation, double check if you have provided enough free space for the kalilinux machine. Make sure that you provided at least 30 GB of free space. Now, if you didn't encounter any error and you're at this step, it asks us whether we want to install the grub bootloader. And here is the simple explanation. It seems that this new installation is the only operating system on this computer. If so, it should be safe to install the grub bootloader to your primary drive. Now, don't let this confuse you. Remember that this is a virtual machine and it doesn't know of any other operating systems other than kalilinux. Since you might be wondering, well, it isn't the only operating system on this computer, I'm running Windows on my host machine, but this virtual machine does not know that. For it, this is the only operating system which we are currently installing. So since we're installing kalilinux as a virtual machine, we can install the grub bootloader to our primary drive. Just select here yes, or leave it at yes because it's the default option, and click on Continue. And it will ask us once again the device for bootloader installation. We don't want to enter device manually, so just navigate to the lower option, which is this one right here, and click on Continue. This will finish up the installation, and once the installation is done, it should boot into our kalilinux machine. And here it notifies us installation is complete, so it is time to boot into our new system. Make sure to remove any installation media so that you boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. Now, since we don't have any installation media such as CD or USB, we can simply just click on Continue. And this should open up our kalilinux virtual machine. Let's wait for a few seconds for it to boot up. And here it is. Here is our login window. Now at this point, I will leave the scaled mode by pressing right Ctrl and C. And you will notice that my window will get smaller, but this will be fixed in just a second. Let us first log in. My username, if you remember, is Mr. Hacker. For you, just type in your username and then type in your password that you used during the installation. Click on Login, and this will open the kalilinux desktop. Now, to enlarge this window, usually all you need to do is simply just enlarge this window, lower it once again, and enlarge it once again. But here is our first error. You might have noticed that my screen went black, and that can happen to you as well. Now, what I would do in this case is I would lower the screen, I would close the virtual machine, and I can do that by clicking on X and then clicking on Power of the machine, navigating back to my virtual box, selecting my machine, navigating on Settings, navigating on Display Settings, and under the video memory, I want to enlarge this to, let's say, 80, and I want to click on OK. Now, if I start the VM again, it will once again take a few seconds to boot up. Here is the login window. Once again, I'll type in my password. And now you see that my virtual machine went in full screen mode. Okay, awesome. Now, if you have encountered the same error of getting the black screen on your kalilinux virtual machine, just remember, navigate to your virtual machine, navigate to Settings, navigate to Display Settings, and increase video memory. This should fix the issue. Alright, awesome. So this is our kalilinux virtual machine. Looks quite cool, right? Here is the desktop. Here are certain apps that we have. We can find even more apps by clicking on this kalilinux icon that says Applications. And you can experiment and research a little bit if you want. But in the next lecture, we're going to take a look at how we can set up network settings for our kalilinux virtual machine.